Hi, I'm Chuck Myron,
And I'm his wife, Taryn Myron.
and we're married to Saturdays.
Married to Saturdays.
Well, it is Sunday right now, December 6th, and just past noon on the East Coast, and they're going to reveal the teams in the playoffs here within minutes.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to react to them live with you. So it's just something we're going to try out. Why not? Give it a shot. See how we think in real time.
Yes. It's going to be really exciting. They're just talking right now about the rankings and about the bubble teams and about the conference championship games last night, which were really exciting.
Yeah, you had Indiana pulling off the win against Ohio State. You had Duke with that upset of Virginia. Virginia goes to overtime, throws the pick.
Yes.
That could extinguish the hopes for the ACC, certainly maybe the ACC champion, if not also Miami.
Correct. Don't forget we had Texas Tech, who took care of BYU yesterday.
And, of course, Georgia finally getting over that that Alabama bugaboo in Atlanta. So, hey, we'll see how that all shakes out. Now, for me, here's how I would rank them. So, I think we did this last night, but I would go Indiana 1, okay?
Mm-hmm. I agree, Indiana 1.
Georgia 2.
I agree, Georgia 2.
Ohio State 3.
Yes, Ohio State should be 3.
Texas Tech, they earned the bye. They're number 4.
Yes, they earned the bye. One lost Big 12 champion. They should definitely be number 4.
Okay. Now you get into who's going to play at home?
Right.
Oregon, I think 5.
Yes, and we agreed on some of these last night. Oregon definitely 5.
Mississippi 6.
Yes, Mississippi 6.
And then, who do we think maybe for 7?
I think we thought maybe Texas
A&M.
Texas
That's
A&M.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Texas A&M, and then for 8, Oklahoma.
Yes, and now that's where our agreement kind of stops. So,
right.
Chuck, why don't you tell them your predictions for 9 through 12?
Well, these aren't really so much my predictions as what I would do.
Okay.
It's hard to say what the committee's going to do. I mean, they do their own thing.
Yes.
We've learned year after year. So, what I would do at number 9 is I would go with Alabama.
Okay.
All right. And at number 10, I would go with Miami.
Okay.
All right. So I would leave then Notre Dame out because at 11 I would go with Tulane, and at 12 I would go with James Madison.
Okay. So I'm a little different.
Mm-hmm.
So at 9, I would actually take Miami.
Okay.
And then 10 would be Notre Dame because I feel that they've earned it. So I would actually leave Alabama out of the playoffs because they're a 3-loss team. And remember, they have a really bad loss, which is to a bad Florida State team. So then I would put Tulane at number 11 and James Madison at number 12.
Well,
so we're going to see what happens. We
There's
could
a
both
reason,
be wrong.
There's a reason they're a 3-loss team, though, that Alabama's a 3-loss team. That's because they earned their way into their conference championship
And
game.
they did.
And
yes.
I don't think there's they should be punished for that.
Sure.
I mean, look, if you do punish them for that, so you got to think also about what are the consequences of these decisions, right?
Yes.
If you do that, then what's to say that a team will not decline a bid to a conference championship game
Correct.
in the future? And that could throw the whole notion of conference championship games into disarray. Maybe that's a good thing, but I don't think the conferences are going to go for that. And remember who's sitting there on that committee. You've got ADs, you've got conference people, you've got people who put the system in place.
Right.
So I don't think they're going to do anything that is aimed at destroying the system.
Not today. I definitely think whatever happens, one of those 3 teams are going to get left out, whether it's Alabama, Miami, or Notre Dame. Unjustly so. One of them is going to get left out. So I think the committee's going to have to make yet another change for next year.
Well, look, it's a really hard decision because it comes down to Alabama, Miami, Notre Dame.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Because then the committee has to follow its own rules, which are to put in 5 conference champions, which is the 4 top conference champions
right.
plus at least one group of 5.
Right, and that has been the story. That has been the rule since the 12-team playoff started last year.
And I go back to what I said about you put a committee in place that built the system that is in place. If the committee wanted to get radical, And I don't think they do. But if they wanted to get radical, then they could go break their own rule.
That's right.
And they could say, look, there was never an intention to get 2 group of 5 teams in.
Exactly.
And if you look at Tulane and James Madison, neither of them is unbeaten.
Correct.
Neither of them has a win over a Power 4 team. So why would we break the? Why would we, why would we have 2 of them this year?
Right.
Essentially, and you might say, all right, well then let's break the rules. Let's have Alabama, Notre Dame, and Miami in there. Let's have Tulane in there as the group of 5 representative. The group of 5 gets their representative. You have the 3 teams that from.
I agree with you. I think that's a great plan.
Who are, I think in many ways almost equivalent. And then not everybody is happy.
No.
James Madison isn't happy. But if you don't make James Madison happy, what's the consequence of that?
Right.
That's what I would sort of have on my mind is, do you think the committee will bend its own rules at the consequence of putting a stick in the eye of James Madison, some of the group of 5?
I don't think that they're going to break their own rule today. Next year, like I said, I think this is going to be a new
next
format
year,
for next year.
I think we're going to see a changed system.
Now,
Absolutely.
however, let me just throw a little wrench in. What if you put James Madison in and not Tulane? Because Tulane has already lost to Mississippi. They got housed by Mississippi. Mm-hmm. So why would you give Tulane that other chance in the playoffs?
Tulane has 2 losses. James Madison has 1.
Correct.
But, here's where things get so tough for the committee, because and this is partly because we've had the rankings every week and the committee sort of paints itself into a corner.
Yes.
By saying one thing one week, and then do you have to say the same thing that's true the next week,
right,
when no other conditions around you have changed? It's
exactly.
like they had Alabama and Notre Dame flip-flop in these latest rankings, perhaps telegraphing the idea that you might see at Notre Dame and Miami flip-flop, which is what I would do, which is what I said I would do.
Yes.
But look, will they do the same thing with James Madison and Tulane? Mm-hmm. Now both of them played, and you could make.
And they both did well on Friday.
They both did well.
They both won.
So I think it would be a very difficult argument to make that James Madison proved more in its conference championship game than Tulane did in theirs. Although the committee could always make that argument.
You could. And, you have to think about with James Madison and with Tulane. Tulane beat North Texas on Friday, who was ranked. Right. Now, what about Duke? Do we say anything about Duke? They're a 5-loss team. I mean, personally, if 5-loss Duke gets in the playoffs, why not 4-loss Tennessee, for example? Or 4-loss Iowa?
This is the kind of choice now that we have. That opens the door to all kinds of chaos, which is what we all enjoy as fans.
Exactly.
But look, a deserving team is going to be disappointed.
Exactly.
Tonight. Or at least a team that is going to feel that it deserved it. You can say, well, look, maybe the only really deserving team is Indiana.
Right.
They're the only unbeaten.
Right. And, Georgia and Texas Tech, anybody, because they won their conference championship with 1 loss. So, yeah, and I think, I think one of those 3 teams is going to get left out, whether it's Alabama, Miami, Notre Dame. All 3 of them have absolutely valid cases to be in the playoffs. They all have valid cases to be left out of the playoffs.
Or break this. Now, this is not saying what I would do, because I think you have to follow your own rules. And if you start breaking your rules for 2-loss teams, that does not feel fair.
Right.
And maybe it's not about what's fair. It's about what's right for college football. But I think you have to have some element of fair play in there. Otherwise, what are you doing?
Right.
So as I said, I would exclude Notre Dame because they lost
to
Miami. So if you have if you're trying to choose between Alabama, Miami, and Notre Dame, you can say, well, one of them lost to the other.
Right.
So, you would at least knock them down a peg and then make the choice between Alabama and Notre Dame. And the committee has been wishy-washy on that one.
Yes, they have.
But I would say, look, you shouldn't punish Alabama for getting to that conference championship game.
Right. Well, while we're waiting for the rankings to be revealed, why don't we talk about why Notre Dame perhaps should be left out? I think you just made a good case. Also Notre Dame has 2 losses at the beginning of the season, 1 to Miami, 1 to Texas A&M, who is another playoff team. We know they're going to be a lock. They've won 10 games straight. Yes, that's great. But when you compare their schedule to Miami's schedule or Alabama's schedule, they have an easy schedule. Their best win is against USC.
Yeah, you look at Miami, their best win is against Notre Dame.
Yes.
Alabama, their best win is against Georgia,
Right.
even though they now split the series
Exactly.
with Georgia. That's a heck of a metric to look at, is who did you beat?
Right.
Because you're going to have to be at your best in the playoffs in order to succeed, in order to win.
Right.
And you want a tournament that has as many teams in it who could actually win it as possible.
Exactly.
That would make for a compelling tournament.
Yes.
And if you say, okay, who are these teams at their best, then you look at who they've beaten.
Right. However, on the other hand, you can also look at who did they lose to. Notre Dame has only 2 losses. They're 2 really good teams. Who has Miami lost to? They have not lost to a good team. They kind of stubbed their toe in both of their losses. So there's a case for maybe Miami to get left out.
Well, look, if there's a problem here, and that is if you only look at who you lost to or didn't lose to. Tennessee
didn't beat anybody.
Tennessee didn't beat anybody, but Tennessee's worst loss all year was Vanderbilt.
Correct.
They lost to Georgia. They lost to Alabama. They lost to Oklahoma. Those are all teams that are in, at least 2 of the 3 are going to get to the playoffs, and then Alabama and Vanderbilt felt like they should be in the playoffs.
Right.
So if that's all about who'd you lose to and who'd you not lose to,
right?
Well, then you'd say, well, that Tennessee's a playoff team, which we know that they're not.
And
I'm not trying to make that
well.
argument, but I am saying, look, if it becomes more about who you lose to and not lose to, then you start getting into some fuzzy territory.
Sure. And I think that's certainly, a thought. And you got to think about Alabama. Yes, they made their conference championship. They have a loss to Oklahoma, who is a playoff team.
Yeah.
But they also have that loss to Florida State. Now, because that was in week 1, I don't think it hurts as much as if it would have been 2 weeks ago, for example.
Well, so and this is another argument, and if we think about what is bias,
right?
There is such a thing as recency bias.
Yes.
We've talked about it all year long.
Yes.
And that same week that Alabama lost to Florida State, Notre Dame lost to Miami.
Exactly.
And so, does it count? Like it ultimately
it should.
it should count, because if not, then you could say, well, everything before October is the preseason.
Exactly.
Which we don't. Nobody wants that.
Right.
You want the results on the field to matter. That's why you watch the game.
That's right.
So I think, look, I would hope the committee is going to honor that result, because if you are trying to pick between teams and one of them beat the other one, well, that to me says.
Right, and you have the teams have
that
the same.
should make it easy then.
Yes.
That's the easiest way to determine. I think the argument is not between Notre Dame. Ultimately, to me, it would not be between Alabama, Notre Dame, and Miami. It would be between Alabama and Notre Dame. And maybe, maybe I should revise that and say Miami would be over Alabama. But again, look, that's an academic argument whether Miami and Alabama are 9-10. But I think if you're going to take one of those 3 teams, if you're comparing the 3, then you must take Miami and say, okay, now the choice is between Alabama and
Also,
Notre Dame.
when you think about between Miami and Alabama, Miami beat Florida State. Alabama lost to Florida State. Of course, I'm going to be a little biased because I'm a Florida State fan, but you got to take that into account as well.
Yeah. Well, I think, that's a common opponent.
And they both played in Florida State in Tallahassee.
Right.
So
maybe you should make Miami 10, Alabama, or Miami 9, Alabama 10.
Right.
You also remember when you're doing that, you're also thinking about who's going to match up.
Right.
Like, do you want to have a rematch? Do you want to have Oklahoma playing Alabama in the first round? You probably don't.
No.
So you probably would put Miami. If I had to do it, this is partly why we do it, so we can think through this ourselves.
Yes.
So maybe it should be Miami number 9,
Yes.
so they match up with Oklahoma, and Alabama number 10, so that they'd match up with Texas A&M.
Yes.
Which would be, I think
Both
better,
great
easier
games.
on the eyes than going and saying, hey, guess what? That Oklahoma-Alabama game from a month ago, that didn't matter. Now we're going to play one that's for keeps.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is you always want to be playing for keeps.
Right. And you have to think about, as far as matchups goes with those group of 5 teams, do you really want to see Tulane play Mississippi again? Because they would be our number 6 seed? I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see Tulane get housed again by Mississippi when it counts. And then, James Madison versus Oregon, what a lopsided matchup that would be.
Yeah. So maybe you move some around, just to get the right matchups. Of
course, I think James Madison against anybody besides Tulane would be a lopsided matchup.
So the committee has said that they're not going to try to get away from those rematches, but we've seen them do that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we've seen situations where
yes.
They haven't put this team at 4, they put them at 3, so that that there's
right.
not that rematch there.
Like an Indiana-Ohio State rematch.
Right.
Maybe not until the national championship, if they both get that far.
Right, which is one reason why I think you would have Ohio State 3 and
yes.
not Texas Tech 3, even though Texas Tech looked really impressive.
They did.
I mean,
now they beat BYU twice handily.
Yeah. And that to me was as much of a statement as anything that look, it's no fluke.
No, Texas Tech belongs.
No, absolutely. Texas Tech absolutely belongs. Absolutely.
Much
deserves.
to our surprise.
Well, look, because again, we go back to comparison points.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that comparison point between the Big 12 contenders and the other contenders from the other
Correct.
conferences. So,
Correct.
That's why those Big 12 teams had to distinguish themselves against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Texas Tech, really did that.
They did that.
I think in a resounding way.
Yes.
In both wins against BYU.
Correct. Now, I still think BYU is a good team. Their only loss really is to Texas Tech. Well, it is only twice.
Right. And 2 losses to 1 team.
So I think they're a good team, but I don't think BYU is a playoff caliber team.
No.
So I'm 100% sure that they will get left out of the playoffs today.
And, look, part of it is if you are going to build a competition and you have, and you do have data points about who's beating whom in that competition, wouldn't you want to have teams that have proven that they can compete in that,
exactly.
Amongst those 11 other teams?
Right.
Because Alabama certainly has.
Yes, they have. Miami has. Oklahoma has.
At least against Notre Dame.
Right.
So,
A&M has.
Yeah, anybody can lose.
Of course.
Anybody can lose.
Sure.
We've proven throughout the season that just about anybody can lose to anybody
yes.
else. But who can win? Who
right.
can win? Against the teams who are challenging when it really counts.
Right.
That's what the playoff is all about, determining, all about seeing who can win.
Right.
And, I think we are just moments away now from seeing
who
is going to get a chance to win.
Yes.
I will say the reveal show is always just one of the slowest and exercises in all the sports.
I think we've certainly found that out the last 2 years as we've watched the last 2 years the rating shows together. Yes.
Well, it's to build drama, but
of course.
One thing that I will say is I really liked what Kirk Herbstreit said on game day yesterday, which was, he said, look, nothing against anybody else, but I don't know why we do that Tuesday show every week.
Right.
Which is, I would wholeheartedly agree with that. Why let the committee paint itself into corners
mm-hmm.
and then have to backtrack or get into logical knots?
Right.
When what would be best, I think, is to have a conversation like this on a day like today,
like on a Sunday,
and then see who really are the 12 teams that should be in there.
Mm-hmm. So. We are unveiling right now, it said.
Well,
we'll see.
Right. It's a loose definition of the term "right now." We had the word "now" and then became "right now," and then "right now" became soon enough.
Yes, of course, we're going over the brackets.
Yeah. If you don't know this, but I suppose there are some people walking in for the very first time. Maybe that's you. But we're going to get, I think, starting to see some of the teams in this bracket.
Here we go. Number 1, Indiana.
Well, number 1, Indiana. That is no surprise. They're
Yes.
going to be counting it down, starting at the top.
Because we know there can be drama at the bottom, so I'm sure that's why they did that.
So a little bit different from what we've seen all season. They're counting it down from the top.
Yes.
So number 1 is Indiana.
And they absolutely deserve it. The only undefeated team left in the country.
What a great.
That was a great game
win.
last night.
Yeah, and Kurt Signetti has reset the bar.
Yes.
For coaching.
Everybody wants
football.
to be Kurt Signetti.
Every school wants to hire Kurt Signetti. You wonder how much long-term damage actually Signetti has done to Penn State.
Right.
Think about that, because Penn State got passed by Indiana. They fired James
Number
Franklin.
2, Ohio State. So this is different.
Okay, all right. Well,
I don't
that's
agree with
surprising
this,
to
but-
me that Ohio State gets number 2 over Georgia.
Yeah.
So the SEC champion passed up for the Big Ten runner-up.
Wow.
That's a statement. That is a statement.
I don't like it, to be honest. I don't like it.
That's a statement. Now that could, affect something.
Yes. However, I will say, Ohio State, they only lost by 3 last night. They didn't play well, and I just think Indiana took advantage of Ohio State's mistakes last night.
I don't know that
Especially in the fourth quarter.
This tells me that Oregon is definitely going to be number 5.
Yes.
Because now they say, look, it seems like there's a heavy Big Ten respect coming from this committee.
Oregon might slip into 4, but we'll find out because they have talked about that.
That would be
3 Big Ten teams having the bye.
Well, I
don't like it.
I would
It could
be
happen.
very surprised. I do think I would be. I do think. Okay, here's Georgia at
Number
3.
3 is Georgia.
Georgia is
Okay,
3.
okay.
So essentially flip-flopping where we thought Georgia and Ohio State would go.
Yes.
That really, ultimately, those shouldn't matter that much. You get
No.
somewhat of a tougher opponent in the quarterfinals.
But if Georgia's as good as we think they are, then they'll be fine. They'll be able to handle it.
Right, and if Georgia and Ohio State both win their first playoff game, they'll be playing each other anyway.
That would be an amazing game, I think. Georgia versus Ohio State.
Right.
And either one could win.
Oh, wow. It's a game that you would look forward to, but there'll be 2 teams trying to disrupt that
Yes.
quarterfinals. All right.
All right,
We
number
are
4. We're waiting on
Looking
4.
for number 4 here. This to me should be Texas Tech.
I agree.
Both of us say Texas Tech should be here, but let's
My
see
chaos pick would be
who
Oregon.
is here. It is Texas
Hey,
Tech.
we don't have chaos for number 4.
All right. So
This
I
absolutely
think,
is
yeah,
correct.
All right. I think we're going to get Oregon next. Let's see. But Texas Tech gets the last bye.
Yes, which they should.
And then they would be seeded if they win their first game, and Indiana wins its first game. They would then meet Indiana in the semifinals.
And what an explosive game. And you know what? What an opportunity for Texas Tech to show what they could do against the best team that we know now in the country.
Well, again, they're going to have to beat somebody to
Right.
get there, and Indiana would too. But
What a
that's
game
how
that would
they're-
be.
That's how they're slotted up. So, I
right,
think
number
now
5.
we're going to get into our
Home games.
our home games.
Who
So
gets
the
home field
5
advantage?
through 8 gets a home field game at the campus sites, which is one of the great innovations of the playoffs.
Yes.
Is that we have home games. Something that I think that we missed this weekend.
Yes.
Not seeing those campus sites. Seeing
Oregon,
those
number
games.
5.
Oregon in 5.
Okay, we got that right.
All right. Oregon is 5th. So
And they deserve that.
Oregon, if they win their game, an opponent to be revealed later in the bracket, they would play Texas Tech. And it
Yes.
should be, since they're 5,
Yes.
that should be either
The number 12
James
seed.
Madison or Tulane, I would
Yes.
think. Yeah, there would be, or maybe Duke. But
Throw
it
some
should
chaos
be
in
a
there.
relatively easy opponent.
Yes.
So we can project a little bit.
Maybe
but
Oregon
think
versus
about
Texas
Oregon,
Tech.
Texas Tech there.
What a game that would be.
Well, it would be the most challenging game that Texas Tech has had all season, we would
Yes.
think, but although Texas Tech just beat an 11-1 team, so
And Oregon's only loss is to the best team in the country,
right,
Indiana.
Indiana. So it's interesting that
Number 6
is Ole Miss.
is Ole Miss.
Okay.
Okay,
so
as we thought.
as we expected.
Now the
yeah.
winner of that game would, go, if it's Ole Miss, they would go to a rematch against Georgia.
Interesting that they put Ole Miss at 6 in if we're thinking that maybe Tulane will get to 11.
Right.
So maybe they'll jumble the seeds in that regard. Because I don't think there's any way Tulane is not making it.
Exactly.
All
right, let's find out. Number 7. Let's see. Is it going to be A&M?
So it's interesting. So both Oregon and Ohio State, their only loss all season is to Indiana, but Oregon is 5 and Ohio State is 2. You know,
Well, who is Oregon's best win? I believe it's USC.
USC.
And
or
number
Iowa.
7, we have Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. Ohio State didn't play USC. Oregon's best win is
Ohio State's best win is probably Texas
probably
or Michigan.
Yeah, probably Texas or Michigan.
All right, number 7 is Texas A&M.
All right.
What are we thought?
All right. Okay. All right. It's unfolding as we thought
Now,
it
if Texas
might.
A&M wins that game, they would play Ohio State. Is that correct?
Yes, they would. Yeah. So 7 would slot into 2.
Okay.
So this is a team that was unbeaten.
Until
Texas A&M and Ohio State were 2-3. You know, for much of the season.
Yes.
And then, that could be a quarterfinal.
That could be.
Which is really
The final home team reveal is coming, and it's who we expected in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, the 8th seed. They would, if they win, get a matchup with Indiana. So Oklahoma will host
Yes.
in the first round.
Good for them. They deserve it. They absolutely deserve it.
So I was going to say about that 7 seed with Texas A&M, slotting in against Ohio State potentially.
Yes.
Remember, they have a common opponent that
Here we
Ohio
go.
State beat and Texas A&M lost.
Now
to
here's
Texas.
the ones we want to see. Let's see
All
what
right.
they say next.
Here comes number 9, and I
Or
think,
maybe they'll go 12.
will this be Alabama in a rematch? Will it be Notre Dame? Will it be Miami? This is where it gets really interesting.
Number 9,
Who
who'll play
goes to
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma?
Oh,
And,
boy.
Yeah, they're showing the contenders there: Alabama, Notre Dame, Miami.
The resume comparisons.
Yeah, this is where you get to the sweaty palms time. This is why we enjoy this here.
Yes. I mean, Alabama's leading in strength of record and strength of schedule.
I'd
They're last
rather
in
be Miami
FPI.
sitting there with only 2 losses and a win over one of the other 3.
Yes.
One of the other 2, I should say. To me, Miami is the best of that bunch, but it's Alabama who gets the 9 seed, which means we're going to have a rematch of Alabama and
disagree with
Oklahoma in the
this.
first round.
Oh.
We're going to have a rematch.
A 3-loss team.
A 3-loss team getting in there over at least two loss teams.
I don't agree
But
with this.
hey, because they went to their conference, like I said at the beginning, you don't want teams declining the bid to the conference championship
Yes.
games. I think they're going to get punished.
All right, number 10. Who do you think it's going to be? I hope it's Miami. I hope the committee made the right decision.
I hope so too, because then what is the purpose of watching the game?
Right.
If you have a game, somebody wins it, and they say, well, that didn't really count.
Right, and Alabama
Then-
has good wins. Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee, LSU. They've got great wins. That's probably what propelled Alabama.
Yeah. Well, I think it's quite an interesting choice there that they're going to have Alabama and Oklahoma rematch. So that's consecutive rematches now
Yes.
for Alabama because they had to play Georgia.
Right.
That didn't work.
Right.
For Alabama so well. So now another one in Oklahoma.
And the winner of that game will face Indiana. Huge.
Can you imagine?
Indiana playing either one of them.
Yeah,
Wow.
as a quarterfinal game. That's a part of what makes this so exciting.
Yes.
So, all right, the 10 team, whoever gets this seed is going to go to Texas A&M. So this is a trip to College Station for
This could be a rematch for Notre Dame or a new match for Miami. We're hoping it's Miami.
Well, again, Miami
Yay!
gets it. Miami is
Yes!
in there. The committee has done the right thing.
We are
Yes,
so excited.
Yes. All right. Congratulations, committee. You have done the right thing. You have honored what we all saw with our eyes and ears on the field.
Yes.
This is a great decision.
And if you think about it, now the ACC will have a representative
They
in the
will.
playoffs.
They will. Maybe not their champion, but maybe not a team that got to the championship game, but a representative
Yes.
nonetheless in Miami. And
This is
they
great.
beat Notre Dame.
This is great.
They deserve, and again, this is. I'm glad that the committee didn't say, oh well, we would rather honor our decision from a week or two ago
Yes.
than honor what came on the field.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Now, if you're Notre Dame, boy, you got to be upset.
Sure.
Because you say, well, we were ranked multiple spots in front of Miami, two spots this week,
Yes.
3 spots 2 weeks ago, and suddenly they jump us even though neither of us played.
Right. But Miami won the head-to-head.
Yeah,
That should be the only
exactly.
stat you need.
That should be. That should be. That to me makes the most sense. So I'm very happy that the committee took that into consideration.
Yes.
And didn't try to just make itself look good by saying, well, we in all our infinite wisdom thought 2 or 3 weeks ago that Notre Dame was better than Miami, so we're going to keep making that same mistake.
Let's see who's
So
number 11.
Miami goes to Texas A&M.
We
so
think
now,
it's going to be Tulane, but I'd like to see James Madison.
all right, but this is a team that now is going to go to Mississippi, and maybe this is Tulane, maybe it's a rematch, maybe which would be 2 rematches in the first round. But
We're
all
going to
right.
find out.
So Miami Texas A&M winner, by the way, goes then to play Ohio State.
Ooh, what a
in the
game.
quarterfinals.
What a game.
Yeah. So
Somebody knows all about playing Ohio State in the playoffs.
So yeah, all right. This is
This is a big one.
yeah. Now
Is it
again,
Tulane? Is it James Madison? Could it even be Duke?
could it even be Notre Dame? The absolute chaos scenario where the committee breaks its own rules.
That's right.
Which it,
Could happen.
that
Unlikely.
one, I don't think so. But I put it out there because it is a choice they could make, and
Notre Dame Ole Miss would be a great game, by the way.
Would you rather make Notre Dame angry, or would you rather make the Group of 5 angry?
I think I'd rather make the Group of 5 angry if it were me.
Well, in that case, you would break your own rules.
Right.
Or again, would you there? Okay, it is Tulane, Mississippi rematch, first round. Okay, all right.
And the winner goes to Georgia.
Yep. All right. So we're gonna.
And I like it. But remember, there's no Lane Kiffin at Mississippi. So this could make a difference.
Could it?
It could.
Could
I'm not
it?
saying it will. I'm saying it
don't
could.
know
Now
about
here's the
that.
debate for number 12. Are you going to put in James Madison or are you going to give Duke the reward for beating number 17 Virginia?
Well, I mean, it was an impressive win for Duke, but
I don't think that either one of them can play with Oregon personally.
that's the thing is could we see our first 5-loss playoff team?
I mean, we saw our first 3-loss playoff team today.
Yes, with Alabama. Well, look, James Madison. Okay, here we go. James Madison gets the spot.
The committee
They
did
are the
not break this
12
rule.
seed. The committee goes with its own rules. It takes James Madison to Oregon, and that means that Notre Dame is out. Notre Dame is out of the playoffs, and James Madison is celebrating as well they should.
And I'm sure Notre Dame is upset. They have every right to be upset. I certainly know how it feels to get snubbed out of the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. So here we recap it. So the 12 seed, James Madison is at Oregon, number 5, the winner to Texas Tech. The 9 seed Alabama is at Oklahoma, number 8. The winner is to Indiana, the number 1 seed. 11 seed Tulane goes to 6 seed Ole Miss, winner to number 3 Georgia. And then the 10 seed Miami goes to 7 seed Texas A&M. The winner goes against 2 seed Ohio State.
Now they're also talking about the first and second teams out.
Well,
the first team out is Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
The second team out is BYU.
Okay. Well,
We understand BYU,
Yeah.
and we do understand Notre Dame.
Yeah,
Do I think Notre Dame and BYU are both better teams than James Madison? Absolutely. But these are the rules of the playoffs.
I would have given serious thought to breaking it. I would have. But because again, I think we saw the committee go with the letter of the law and not the spirit of it, which was to get the best Group of 5 team in there.
Right. I mean, for me personally, if I was on the committee, I'd say, okay, next year, this is what we do. We take the highest ranked Group of 5 and just the highest ranked 11 teams after that.
I would agree with that. Don't worry about conference champions who wins that. Because
and I think we've seen that over the last 2 years that it doesn't really matter the conference championships.
Well, you either do that, but then you also have to look carefully at who's making these conference championships.
That's right.
because the two teams that just made the ACC conference championship game got passed over. They weren't even in the next two teams out.
Correct.
So that to me says that something's got to be fixed
Yes.
in that ACC.
I agree.
Miami is in there.
Yes.
Which I think the ACC can hang its hat on, but
Yes.
something is broken.
And really, I mean, the ACC championship game should have been either Virginia versus Miami or Miami versus Georgia Tech or Virginia versus Georgia Tech. Should have been two of those three teams in the ACC championship.
Or I mean, there were other options too. SMU,
right? Or Pitt,
right? Anybody but a 5-loss team.
That's
but
right.
Hey, good for them. They won.
They did great, and congratulations to Duke for the win last night.
Yeah, it's just a bizarre situation where you have the ACC's conference champion get left out. Their conference runner-up in Virginia get left out, but an also-ran team in Miami go in and
as an at-large.
Right, but again, like, why not? If part of the job of a conference championship game is to decide who gets an automatic bid into the playoffs, why wouldn't you look at the committee rankings and say, okay, whoever's ranked, the top two teams in the rankings, they're the ones who get to go to the conference championship.
Correct.
Game.
I don't know why the rankings is not a metric for the ACC.
Right, and traditionally conference championship games have only looked at conference games. Maybe they should also consider non-conference games in that criteria. That's another thing that we think about now in the sort of aftermath of this is what happens to the non-conference games.
Right.
What happens to scheduling when Notre Dame played those two games and got knocked out? Did they say?
And I think ultimately that was their demise.
Yeah. Did they say, well, why should we ever play a team of the caliber of Miami and a team of the caliber of Texas A&M?
Well, when you lose, I mean, that tells you everything you need to know.
Right. So, by that same token, look what the committee did with Tulane. They said they dared to play Mississippi. They lost.
Right.
But
they took the risk.
They lost one more game too. But they still were able to find their way in, and in fact get a higher seed over James Madison. There, James Madison has one loss. Tulane has two.
Right.
But Tulane gets the higher seed and a rematch against that same team.
Right.
That they scheduled earlier.
Yes, and we're going to talk all about these games, playoff games, in much more detail coming up.
Yeah. So we will have more as the matchups crystallize, as we find out who's playing when, and also
we'll talk about all the bowl games.
The bowl games, exactly.
They still exist. Tennessee will be going to one of them.
Yes. So where and when, we don't know yet. Against whom, still to be determined. But we'll be back. But just wanted to show you our reaction to the committee rankings. So hope you enjoyed it. If you like this, my goodness, subscribe.
Hit the subscribe button down below.
Yeah. Then you'll have our next podcast delivered right to you. You can comment. If you think the committee did a terrible job, let us know. If you think they did a great job, if you thought Notre Dame should have been in, if you thought, well, hey, what do you think of our idea of maybe the committee should have broken its own rules?
Yes.
Hey, let us know, and we'll talk to you soon.